Hey, I'm DRSCL. I'm a dad, a chiropractor, and the translator you didn't know you needed in this, the first year of parenting. This is Decoded, the first year, the podcast that turns baby brain confusion, mum burnout, and milestone panic into clarity you can actually use. Let's make sense of the chaos by decoding it together. Hey, welcome back to Decoded, the first year. I'm Dr. SCL, chiropractor, dad, and your decipherer of baby brains, milestone chaos, and nervous system confusion. Today, we're digging into a topic that a lot of people avoid, or at best, misunderstand. And that's birth trauma. Now, this is not the kind that shows up in the delivery room as a medical emergency. I'm talking about the kind that shows up later in your baby's body, in their movement, in their sleep, or in the way they settle, or in particular, don't settle. So we're going to talk about what birth trauma actually is, what it's not, and how you can recognize the signs without spiraling. Now, before we move on, I want to acknowledge that there is one final and super important way that birth trauma shows up later, and that is in your body as the mum. We touched on this in episode 2 about the overloaded, overwhelmed, and ultimately neurologically dysregulated mum, and I promise it will not be the last episode we do on that topic. So when most people hear birth trauma, they think of emergency Caesar, NICU admission, maybe forceps, vacuum, gas, epidurals. And yes, those are all huge events. But here's what doesn't get talked about. Even a normal, uncomplicated birth can leave tension in a baby's spine and nerve system, especially in the neck and skull. Because birth is intense. Even in the best case scenario, it involves compression, generally too much rotation, huge physical and neurological transitions, and for baby, always, and for mum, sometimes, there is zero prior experience with any of it. However, before moving on, there is one area which is commonly impacted by even the most natural of births, and that's the shoulder. Which shoulder depends on baby position in utero, but it is in the final stage of birth where the head is out and bubbo is rotating so as to allow the shoulders, the widest part of the body, to exit the birth canal. And that's where the shoulder can be caught on mum's pubic bone and or pelvis. So when we talk about birth trauma, we're not always talking about danger. We're talking about stress. And babies show stress in the only way they can. It's through their body. Here are some of the most common signs I see in the clinic that tell me a baby may be still carrying birth-related tension or misalignment. They prefer turning their head to one side, particularly noticeable in sleep or feeding. During feeds, they arch their entire body and get very upset and cry. Their unsettled sleep is that because they are constantly startled. They have some form of digestive discomfort, maybe known as reflux or colic or constipation. They have some sort of delay or asymmetry in their movement patterns, or the comment from a parent, they're just never quite settled. These aren't personality traits. They're not random quirks. They are often signs of unresolved nervous system stress, especially in the upper neck or sacrum, and as we now know, the shoulder, where birth tension is super common. Sometimes these signs appear in week 1. Sometimes not until week 6, week 10, or even later. And here's why. The baby's nervous system is adapting constantly. And it sometimes takes weeks for patterns to emerge or for the system to simply hit its threshold. So if your baby seemed fine in the first few weeks and then suddenly became more unsettled, more reactive, or developmentally stuck, It's not your fault. It's not your parenting. It just means the system is asking for help. And this is where neurologically focused pediatric chiropractic care, the right kind, becomes so very, very powerful. With Gonstead Chiropractic, I can identify the spinal tension or misalignment. I can understand how it is affecting the baby's ability to regulate. I can demonstrate this impact to the parent in real time. Then use precise, gentle adjustments to help restore function, not force change. And then most importantly, I can demonstrate to the parent the immediate neurological change as a result of those adjustments. We're not jumping on baby spines. We're helping their nervous system do what it was intended to do. That is, when the stress is out of the way, they see feeding improve, sleep becoming easier, movement gets more balanced, and babies settle, not because of training, but because they are finally comfortable. If your baby's birth was textbook, but they're struggling to sleep, feed, settle, move, or poo, or if they seem uncomfortable in their little body or just off in ways that you can't explain, know this: you didn't miss anything. You're not broken. They're not behind. They're just holding on to tension they don't know how to release yet. And we can help them do that gently, safely, and in a way that supports their development long term. If this episode gave you new insight, please share it with a parent who's been wondering what is really going on. And they can then find me on Instagram at Mount Hawthorn Chiropractic, where I decipher many of the signs of neurological stress linked to birth trauma. This is Decoded, the first year, where baby brains, mum burnout, and nervous system overload all start to make sense. DRSCL, out. Thanks for listening to Decoded, the first year, where we translate the mess of early parenting into something that actually makes sense. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, a partner, or a mum that you know who is quietly struggling through the noise and secretly Googling every milestone. If you want to hear more decoding, follow at Mount Hawthorn Chiropractic on the socials. Let's keep decoding the chaos. No mansplaining, no pressure, no judgment, just clarity when you need it most. Please note, this podcast isn't medical advice. It's just smart strategies from a Gonstead chiropractor, a dad, and someone who's been in the room with hundreds of mums trying to make sense of their baby's development, their own postpartum recovery, and the constant noise that comes with modern parenting. Always chat with your health team for specific care.